Hi, everybody. Welcome to the program. It's great to have you here. I am just back from CrimeCon in Denver. If you were there, it was so much fun. It was really great to meet a lot of you guys. I want to just say a quick thank you to the person, I think I forgot to mention this, who made this little bracelet for me. Not the diamond one, the other one. I just want to say thank you so much. It was so kind. And that was going on. There was a lot of Taylor Swift vibes going around CrimeCon. If you haven't been to one, I recommend it if you love true crime. This is really kind of the Super Bowl. And we covered a lot of ground there as well. And as I was at CrimeCon, there were lots of things breaking, and one of these stories that's broken I want to bring to you tonight. And I have a very good reason. I want to let you know. In the Idaho student murders, there's still a lot of mystery, right? We still don't know so much. Why did Brian Koberger do this? Why did he pick those kids, right? And then those two surviving roommates, we've heard a fair bit from Dylan Mortensen, who survived on the second floor, but we've heard almost nothing from Bethany Funk, the young girl on the right there. She was on the main floor, and you know, she didn't see or hear anything other than some strange flashbang and something weird at 4 o'clock in the morning. She thought, the first time I'm hearing, she thought someone was crashing into a table upstairs. But you know, kids are loud in the house. Well, now we are seeing her police interview with the Moscow police for the first time. It is so incredibly telling. And listen, it's redacted and she's blurred out for good reason. She's a survivor. But if you're a troll out there, I want you to know something. You are sentenced to watching this because it will tell you exactly the mindset, the trauma, the terror of this kid. Yeah, kid, as she's being interviewed. And if you think she had something to do with it or was lazy or didn't care that people were being slaughtered upstairs, you need to see this interview. I'm going to play it in just a moment. And we've got a few new details that have come out from this interview that I didn't know, I'd not seen before. And then in the story of Laken Snelling, the cheerleader who is alleged to have given birth and wrapped the baby up and put this baby in a closet. There are so many strange details coming out about this story, not the least of which some brand new images of Laken Snelling on the stunt team. And she's like top of the pyramid stunt team at about 4 or 5 months pregnant. That's her right up there at the top. I can tell you that is a scary and dangerous thing to do in a competition while you're pregnant. And I think you can sort of tell from the uniform that it's starting to show her pregnancy. Anyway, 17 weeks after this, she was arrested. She has not been charged with murder, but we are going to talk a little bit about some baby daddy drama because someone's being tested for DNA, and it is not the person in the pictures sort of cupping the tummy and the... Yeah, so that's coming. Also, oh, wow, video. If you encountered the video I'm about to show you, there's a van driving in front of you on the freeway, and you can see a guy hanging out of the van, and then you zoom in, and it's like, hey, that guy is an inmate, and those are handcuffs, and that's a prison uniform around those handcuffs. And it looks like he's begging for us to help him get out of that prison van. What would you do? Would you help that guy as he begs for you to help him get out of that situation? Or would you call 911 because there's an inmate trying to escape and be on the run? I've got some interesting news for you on that front. Let's start here, though, shall we, with each new bit of never-before-seen information in the Idaho student murder case. And we've had a ton of those bits and pieces, right, since the killer went off to prison. The picture comes more into focus, and the story becomes a whole lot more clear. But that also means the gaps and the blanks that remain are that much more apparent and even glaring. Now, one of the biggest enigmas of this case from the very beginning is being seen and heard like never before. Bethany Funk, one of the two surviving roommates. She was close as you can get to this unspeakable horror and still survived. But Bethany has said really nothing in public, and most of what she has said to investigators has still been a mystery until tonight. Less than 10 hours after 4 of her friends and roommates were butchered, Bethany sat for this 28-minute-long interview with a detective from the Moscow Police Department. Under questioning by Sergeant Dustin Blaker, she describes in detail what she remembers from the hours and minutes before the murders, but also while Brian Koberger was upstairs in her house. In this never-before-seen video, Bethany Funk is seen wearing an oversized yellow hoodie, but police have blurred her face, and they've muted some of the names and personal details that come out in this interview, obviously to protect the innocent. But I want you to have a look at this police interview.
So you were with Ethan and Xana last night, is that right?
Yeah.
And do you know Ethan's last name?
Cheerleader. I don't know how to spell it.
That's fine. And Xana's last name?
Kernidle.
Do you know spell it?
I think it's Kerno. Maybe another ODLE or something like that.
Okay. Okay, so you were with them at 6. What time did you guys get to second guys last night?
Around 8 something. Maybe 8:30.
So 8:30 p.m.?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. And prior to that, were you guys just at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you left from your house?
Ethan was that formal because he went with his sister because she didn't have a date. And then we were just hanging out at our house. And then he came over and then we all walked over together.
Okay, so that was you, Ethan, Xana. Was there another person with you? Or just the three of you that
Maddie walked over with us.
Okay, and that's who's
Logan.
that? Logan?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Maddie?
Mm-hmm. Her real name is Madison, though, I believe.
Okay. So you guys all walked over to. You were there about 8:30. Okay. Mm-hmm. Were you guys all pretty much together, or just kind of mingling throughout the house most of the night?
We were all pretty much together, and then Maddie left to go to the club with Kaylee. And then I was with Ethan and Xana most of the night, but then one of my friends came. Her name is Cindy, and I hung out with her the rest of the night.
What did you see when you got home?
We're sitting on the couch watching Vampire Diaries. No one else was home yet.
Mm-hmm. And is another roommate, or what was last name?
She's a Batman.
Oh, okay. And
I actually don't remember her last name right now.
that's fine. And is live with you guys too, or just visit?
She's a friend.
Okay.
And then she left.
Well, do you know what time she left at?
No.
Okay. But you were all watching
Vampire Diaries.
Okay. And anything happened during that time period?
We were just hanging out.
Okay. Do you know who else was in the house at that time?
No one.
No one?
Us.
Just the three of you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, let's go a little bit more then. What happened next?
Maddie and Kaylee came home from the club. Left.
Maddie and who?
Kaylee.
Kaylee? Okay. And they got home from the club. Do you know what time that might have been?
I think I told one of the cops that was talking to me at the house, like, better times.
That's okay.
I don't really remember right now. Maybe like 2 something, 1.
So if you got home around 1, that would have put them getting
like
home.
1:45, 2, something like that.
So near bar break? If you had to guess?
What?
Like near bar break?
What does that mean?
Bars normally close at 2 o'clock here.
Oh, yeah. They went to Grub Truck after, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. What did you do after that, after Maddie and Kaylee got home?
We all hung out in Kaylee's room for a little. And then talked, and then Maddie and I took Murphy out to pee, the dog. And then I said I was going to go to bed because I was tired. And she said she was going to go to bed too. And then I went to my room. I was going to sleep. And she came and knocked and asked if I had Murphy. And I said no. And then I went to bed. I woke up and I was like half asleep. And I just thought I saw like a firework or something. like it just sparkled like under my door, and I thought I heard like something kind of fall, and then Murphy barked, but I thought people were just making like food, like, and Ethan was here or something and knocked something over because he's usually loud in the kitchen upstairs.
Okay. So what do you mean by you heard a firework?
It sounded like a little firework, and then there was like a spark. I went by my, like, I'm on the bottom floor.
Okay.
And so it kind of looked like it came down there, but I don't know.
What did you hear after that?
Pretty much nothing.
Nothing.
That's it.
Okay. And you thought maybe someone was just in the kitchen at that point?
Yeah, just like someone accidentally fell into the table or something.
Okay.
And she was like with Murphy.
Do you know about what time that might have been? Do you have any
Like
idea?
4 or something. I tried to call all the at like 4:20ish around that time, and no one was answering. I thought they just went to bed or something.
Okay. What happened after that?
And she called me, and she said she thinks she saw someone. And I didn't know, like, really what to think of it, because sometimes we think we hear things a lot in the house, but it's usually just Ethan walking around. But she came, I told her to come to my room, and she could sleep with me, and we could lock the door, and just stay in there just in case if there was anything, and that's all I know. And then I fell back asleep.
You didn't hear anything else?
Mm-mm.
Okay. No one else talking?
Didn't hear something.
Okay. Did you make it to your room then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What time do you think she got in your room?
Around like 4:20, 4:30.
Okay, about the same time.
Yeah.
Where's her room located to yours?
I'm the only one on the bottom floor, right by the front door.
Okay.
And then you go up the stairs, and Xana's room, and Xana's room, the kitchen, and then upstairs is Maddie and Kaylee's room.
Okay. And where's Mojo?
Right by the kitchen.
Right by the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did she say anything to you when she got into the room?
She said she thought she saw a man, but I didn't know what to think of it. I was like still half asleep, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. I don't know.
Okay.
It didn't sound like I didn't hear screams, I didn't hear anything, so I didn't really know.
Have you ever had any of your roommates complain about anyone stalking them?
Mm-mm. Once though, Kaylee said when everyone was like gone, me and were at the sorority house for a meeting, and it was only Kaylee, and she was taking Murphy out to pee. This was a while ago, and she said she swears she saw someone staring at her while she was taking the dog out to pee from the
Remember how long
backyard.
ago that was?
Maybe like a month. She could see like a man's silhouette like staring at her.
I want to bring in Darby Fox. She is a child and adolescent therapist and the author of the book Rethinking Your Teenager. Darby, I thought of you as I was watching this interview. I wish I could have seen Bethany's face, not for the prurience of it, but because I feel like what we just saw it spoke volumes, not what she was saying, but what was happening in that room. I wanted you to just weigh in on your initial reactions on seeing this.
I felt so badly when you see her there. She's got to be terrified. I thought it was kind of odd that she was alone with a man after what she'd just been through, to have him come in. He was nice to her, but think how terrifying that would be. That's a young girl. A couple times she even asked if she could contact her mom, and they said, we're going to have to keep your phone. He should have come right up and said, we will take care of you, some reassurance. This is terrifying. And she is a very young girl, having just gone through something that none of us could even conceive of.
Yeah, we don't know if she's 19 or 20, but she's right in that vicinity. That's the age of my kids, and they are kids. They really are. And I also should just give this, disclaimer. They don't know if they're dealing with a suspect or a victim at this point. It's very early on. It's right after the murder. So I'll give that to the Moscow police. But I hear you. I now, in retrospect, it's like, oh, this poor kid. And then I said off the top of this show, Darby, to the trolls out there, I just want to grab you by the neck, because there's so many people out there, Darby, who say, you didn't do anything. You sat there as this man slaughtered these 4 kids, and you and Dylan went to sleep and went on social media. And to that, I don't know how they make the leap, but okay. can we at least look at that interview and explain what it's like to be, say, a 19-year-old girl in a new house, maybe just had, prom a couple months ago and moved out of her, parents' house, and something goes bump in the night. Can you just take me from there with the mind of a young teenage girl like this when something goes bump in the night?
I think anybody who's been in that kind of situation, been to college or has kids that are at college, that is a very real scene. They're thinking about partying and classes and having fun with each other. You hear a bump in the night and you think, oh gosh, what was that? And then it stops. People are coming and going. There might be different boys, different hookups. So you don't really say anything, you listen. And they are probably also, they've been out, they've been at the club, they've been at the sorority, they've probably had a few drinks. So you're just thinking, I'm not sure what that is. I'm kind of scared, but I'm at college now. Like, I'll just hang on. She does what is very logical. Text one of the other girls. They come down, they climb in bed together. That's a very real scene. And you don't think about that. So for the trolls who say, why didn't they do something? Well, they likely would have done something if they had any idea what was happening. They had no idea what was going on and no reason to think of that.
And even after seeing the guy, when Dylan says, I saw a guy, she did say to one of the police officers in one of her interviews, but people come and go in the house all the time. So I put myself in 17-year-old Ashley and 19-year-old Ashley, and I was in college with, there were 9 of us in the house, 5 guys, 4 girls, and I still believed that something could be under my bed. That's how immature I was at that time. And if there was a bump in the night, I would have said, Darren, who was one of my roommates, or Tim, go check for me. Whatever it is, call it girly or immature, that's kind of how we are at that time of our lives. And it might have just been nothing. And I almost equate that to the behavior of Dylan running downstairs to be in Bethany's room. Like, there was a monster under the bed and I'm still kind of spooked, but I know it's nothing that big.
Yeah, it's nothing happening. They'll think I'm silly. I'm going to go climb in bed, and everybody falls asleep, and they just don't. It's quiet after that. It's quiet in the morning. So they just sleep. That's a pretty normal activity. And for someone to judge that they should have thought differently is just, it's sad.
Yeah, and it hurt my feelings to see this interview and watch her in her terror, in her trauma, recent trauma, to have to get through this interview and explain all this while she had no idea what was to come with the judgment that she was going to get from so many cruel people. By the way, Darby, a couple of other things that I learned in this interview I didn't know about before, that she had spent time in Kaylee's room. When she came home that night, the girls had all been up in Kaylee's room. So, but for the grace of God, Bethany didn't fall asleep in Kaylee's room and decided to go back downstairs. That she and Maddie went outside and took the dog Murphy for a pee. Maybe Koberger was out there watching them at this point, because it was, 2, 3 in the morning at this point, that she grabbed some chips from the kitchen to take down to her room and was watching something, on her phone, an episode of something before she fell asleep. Can you do this really quickly? I only have 10 seconds left, but she said in her sentencing that she's had memory wipe. Does that make sense, that there's truly stuff she just can't remember anymore?
That is absolutely what happens with anybody who's been through trauma of any sort.
Yeah, I feel so for her and for Dylan.
Body, it's dissociation. We suppress it so that we can keep going.
Darby, you're great to do this. Thank you so much for jumping in last minute. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Darby Fox, she's great at her job, also a friend. Still to come, the presumed murder of Emmanuel Harrow by his own parents in Southern California, and also a brazen stabbing of a young Ukrainian immigrant on a train in North Carolina. Appalling acts with very different suspects and circumstances, thousands of miles apart, yet they are linked by an equally appalling fact. What they have in common is up next, along with some newly uncovered facts about the man on the right, that father, Jake Harrow, that alleged killer of his own 7-month-old son. Don't go anywhere. The nation is gripped tonight, and rightly so, by two murder cases on opposite ends of the country that somehow seem to tell the same story. By now, you have probably heard about the deadly stabbing of this beautiful 23-year-old woman, a Ukrainian immigrant living in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her name is Irina Zarutska, and you may have even seen the video of Irina being attacked as she rode a train. Man in a red hoodie behind her was sitting quietly and then pulls out a knife, suddenly stands up, and without a word and with zero provocation, he plunges that knife into her 3 times. One of those stabs was in the throat. Police say the killer is 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr., a repeat offender, to put it lightly. Brown has at least 14 arrests dating back to 2007. These are just some of the mugshots. Their charges including felony larceny, assault, breaking and entering, shoplifting, and making threats. He spent 5 years in prison for a robbery with a dangerous weapon. And just months after being released in 2020, he's reportedly charged with assaulting his own sister. He has a history of schizophrenia and homelessness, and now his lengthy record is being eyeballed all the way from Charlotte to Washington. And yes, it's getting political. Everyone's looking for corners that were cut or deals that might have been made that put him back onto the streets prematurely and possibly caused that woman's death. These are echoes here of what happened in Riverside County, California, with this guy, Jake Harrow, the father and alleged murderer of his own 7-month-old son, Emmanuel Harrow. Just 2 years ago in 2023, before Emmanuel was even born, Jake pleaded guilty to abusing another one of his kids, his 10-week-old daughter. 10 weeks! That crime actually happened 5 years ago in 2018, or 5 years before in 2018. The newborn baby's skull was fractured, multiple bones were broken, and she was left permanently disabled. But Jake Harrow was only sentenced to 6 years in prison, suspended, so not actually in prison. Instead of serving time locked up, he got probation, which he allegedly violated last year in 2024. So they arrested him for that, and they locked him up, but they let him out once again when he posted bail. So again, Jake Harrow walked the streets among us. His case dragged on until this little baby, baby Emmanuel, was conceived and then born and then disappeared, allegedly at the hands of his own parents, Jake and Rebecca, who begged all of us to help find the kidnapper who knocked out Rebecca and stole their baby. My next guest did some digging and has a whole lot more on the files to share about this. Alexandra Kazarian is a criminal defense attorney who spent almost a decade as a public defender in Los Angeles. Alexandra, thank you so much. You actually learned that Jake Harrow himself was removed from his parents, much like his own children were removed from his custody.
Yeah, it's very sad. It sounds like this is a long time cycle of abuse that's happening in this family. There are allegations that his grandfather was mentally ill and that his mother had addiction problems, and she left him at home, not only with his grandfather who wasn't fit to watch over him, but there were also domestic violence issues between his mother and his father. So by the time he was 13, he was taken away from his own home. So it sounds like it's a long time that he's been in tumultuous relationships.
So 13 years old, he's removed from his own parents alongside his own sister and brother. And is it true that they are removed from the home and into the custody of that grandfather who apparently had severe mental health issues?
They were placed into an adoptive family, but one of the reasons that they were removed was because the mother left him with the grandfather who was unfit. So ultimately, I don't think that he was placed finally with the grandfather as the caretaker.
Okay, all right, good to know that. All right, so then you also discovered that Jake had a couple of other kids who were removed from the home long before baby Emmanuel was even, a glimmer in anyone's eye at this point. This is after being arrested for abusing that little 10-week-old newborn girl who ended up with the permanent disabilities. The police show up and there's other kids in the home.
Right. There was a lot of DCFS investigation. Well, we call it DPSS or DCFS, but Department of Family Services, whatever it's called. There were a lot of court cases. There were a lot of findings where he was unfit to be around his own children previously. There was a lot of investigation that happened, a lot of court dates.
Let me ask you a little bit about Irina's case, this Ukrainian immigrant who was just riding the train so innocently, and just for no reason, the man behind her gets up and stabs her to death. It's everyone's worst nightmare, if you can even imagine it happening. DeCarlos Brown is the man they arrested. He has more than a dozen convictions, a documented history of schizophrenia, court-ordered competency checks. The question everyone's asking, Alexandra, is how is he walking the streets in the first place?
Well, DeCarlo Brown's case is very different than Jake Harrow's because there is a long history of mental health issues, schizophrenia, and psychosis with DeCarlo Brown. And when that happens, we don't treat people who have mental health issues the same way that we treat people that just decide to act badly. So the court has to take into consideration whether he was on a psychotic break at the time that these things were happening. And if he was, then mental health treatment has to be the answer. And that's the biggest difference here.
I only have a second left, but I do have to ask you, a lot of people are getting very political about that particular murder. And it's going to be on campaigns and all the rest. But on this show, we want to talk about the facts and the actual crimes and what's going on. Is it bad judging? Is it overcrowding in police? Is it certain administrations, whether Democratic, are letting people out on the streets? Is it cashless bail? Because Republicans say that's what this is. Is it a combination of all of it? What's your genuine opinion about why this guy is out there?
It's a lack of resources across the board. We don't have enough treatment for mental health issues. We don't have enough prosecutors to actually take everybody to trial. We don't have enough jurors that will actually come in to sit for cases. So there's a lot of deals that are being made because there's no resources.
Alexander, thanks so much for doing the deep dive. Really appreciate this. See you again soon.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll look forward to it. Alexandra Kazarian. She's welcome early and often on this program. Coming up in just a moment, spoiler alert for all of you folks watching the runaway hit show on Netflix called Unknown Number, the high school catfish. Turn down volume. Here's a question. If you're a parent, have you ever said anything to your teenager in the heat of an argument or otherwise that you wish you could take back? Don't answer, because I know we all have, right? But thank God most of us don't end up as the big reveal in a Netflix documentary about a relentless and sadistic catfish. After the break, you're going to meet the prosecutor who sent a Michigan mom to prison, and he's got details you won't see on Netflix. And later on, would you help a man if you saw him trying to get out of the back of a moving van? Well, what if you found out he was an inmate and it was a prison van? Some drivers in Oklahoma had to make that decision on the spot at 60 miles an hour, and you're about to see what they did a little later on. Raise your hand if you've ever weighed in uninvited on your teenager's love life. I can't really see you, but I assume that's a lot of hands out there. But now raise your hand if you think that's part of the job of being a parent. Well, let me just say it is, but don't beat yourself up there. However, there are limits, as in the case of a Michigan teenager named Lauren Licari, who for 2 years endured a barrage of the most vile text messages about her relationship with her then boyfriend, Owen McKenney, and never knew where those text messages were coming from. You can see it all in the new Netflix documentary, Unknown Number, the high school catfish. Do I have your attention yet? In December of 2022, police arrested literally the last person anyone suspected, and spoiler alert here, turn down the volume and, you know, put your hand out in front of the TV. It was Kendra Licari, who's Lauren's own mother. Kendra pleaded guilty to 2 counts of stalking a minor and was sentenced to 19 months in prison. David Barberry was the prosecutor in that case and joins me now live. David, I am a mom of boys. Anybody who's ever been a mom right now is blinking and wondering, did she just say what I think she just said? The girl's mom was doing this to her own daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. What did we not see in this documentary? What didn't make the script?
You know, I think the documentary did a very good job of capturing a lot of the graphicness of the text messages. But I think what it came short on is really showing the impact that this had on all the families involved. And it's really hard to capture that in an hour and a half. When these families dealt with this for, you know, over a year, this trauma was going on, this harassment, this constant graphic text messages that were being received by all of these individuals.
So talk to me about the harm done to the families. I cannot even imagine Kendra's daughter, Kendra's family, and how they all feel about her and how they're trying to repair, or if they're trying to repair what might be left of that family. But then also Owen's family and what they went through.
Yeah, Owen's family went through a lot throughout this entire process, and you can only imagine what it would be like to be his mother and his family having to watch their son deal with this through, you know, over a year of battling this in school and with friends, and trying to figure out where it was coming from. You know, and every time that they tried to do something to shut it down, whether it was get rid of a cell phone, get rid of a cell phone number, or change your social media contacts, they were still able to figure out who this person was and continue to harass him. They did a really good job of being strong throughout the entirety of this case, and I'm really proud of their family for how they handled it. But it was very difficult for them, no question.
So look, I know you're a prosecutor and you get your hands into as much as you can, but have you ever figured out why Kendra did it?
You know, that's the $1,000,000 question. I don't think anybody ever really is going to know why she did this. I think that the theory that we all have, that we lean on anyways, is that it was kind of when this started to cause harm to her daughter. I think her daughter looked to her for comfort. And over the course of that relationship and this harassment, I think that she kind of fed on that. But it's hard to say for sure, and we never were able to really identify a true motive.
Unbelievable. Did she ever apologize? Did she ever say anything to try to make amends, at least publicly, or do you know privately?
She did apologize in court. She offered some sort of an explanation that for her behavior, but I think it really fell short for a lot of the families that were involved and a lot of the harm that she caused everybody.
Boy, I'll bet. It's a good documentary. Despite you saying it's short and doesn't get everything out, what it does get out is just kind of jaw-dropping. It's certainly making waves. David Barberry, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back and be on the show again, maybe for a different case as an analyst.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good to know. All right, thank you. Coming up next, folks, the #1 thing that doctors tell expectant mothers not to do. Actually, I don't really know the #1 thing, but I am guessing that backflips and somersaults, yeah, I think they're pretty high on the list. I want you to check out these college athletes in a cheerleading/gymnastics competition called Stunt. And if you look very, very carefully, you'll see someone who's in the news right now in happier times. That is before she was arrested for discarding her newborn baby in a closet, but after she was already very, very pregnant. Details next. Let me show you the biggest risk that I took when I was pregnant with baby #2, Ridley. That was 18 years ago. This was Entertainment Weekly's Oscar viewing party in 2007. At 8 months pregnant, I agreed to be photographed, even though all I wanted to do was sit down and eat nachos. One thing I was not doing was tumbling and flipping and standing on top of a human pyramid. But then again, I am not Laken Snelling. You know, the now former University of Kentucky cheerleader who's charged with hiding her dead newborn in a closet. Over the weekend, some sharp-eyed YouTubers spotted video of Laken from late April competing in a stunt team event against another school. Let's blow that up wide because it's important to look at it. Laken is number 15. So yeah, there you go. She's perched on top of her teammates' shoulders. She's hoisting another tumbler upside down in a pretty impressive routine. From what we know now, she would have been about 5 months pregnant here. Wow. Laken was arrested on the last day of August, days after police found her dead newborn wrapped in a towel and in a garbage bag hidden in a closet. In her only court appearance so far, she pleaded not guilty to abusing a corpse, tampering with evidence, and concealing a birth. She was freed on house arrest at her parents' house in Tennessee, and cheer videos aren't the only bits of her former life that still exist on the internet. Check out this Instagram page, apparently created more than 4 years ago. It looks like Laken was selling her high school prom dress or prom dresses and things that she wore in the various beauty pageants where she competed back home. Some are described as worn once. Sizes range from 2 all the way down to 00, which explains maybe why she was on top of the cheerleader pyramid. She called her little online boutique Laken's Closet, never imagining that just a few years later, the whole country would know her name because of what would turn up in Laken's closet. Another big question is, who is the dead infant's father? A former boyfriend has reportedly given police a DNA sample, but whether a more recent boyfriend has done the same thing is not clear. Laken is due back in court on the 26th of this month, and she'll have lots of free time to prepare since the University of Kentucky has now confirmed that she has dropped out. As for whether she's going to face any charges specifically related to the child's death, as in murder, well, that's going to depend in part on what the coroner is able to find. But for now, the victim's cause of death is inconclusive. If you have headphones, got to check out my podcast, Drop Dead Serious. I've got my hands on some photos of Brian Koberger that are absolutely off the wall. Photos I've never seen before, one in particular where he's trying on a new pair of jeans. And he does what many of us do. He looks in the mirror to see if it makes his butt look big, and the look on his face is just, well, it's appalling, but a lot of other pictures that are pretty scary and creepy of this quadruple killer. Anyway, that podcast is going to drop tonight. I also have a wrap-up of CrimeCon on Drop Dead Serious, so make sure you check it out anywhere you get your podcasts and on the YouTube. Not only that, it did a big, deep dive on Laken Snelling. We just did the story, but I've got the whole story, the background. Sometimes you hear all the news and you think I'm missing something. Well, I've got chapter 1 right through till the end, so check out that as well. Again, Drop Dead Serious. Thank you so much for watching tonight here on NewsNation. Stick around, though, because my colleague Chris Cuomo, he's pretty good at what he does, and he's coming up next. I encourage you to stick here. I'll see you tomorrow.